some of the best collections of privately owned contemporary art of Central Asia are in the US, for example, right? Or in Europe and in Asia as well. And when it comes to where you sell your work or where you present your work, you have to travel sometimes outside Central Asia. There are a lot of these events happening in places where conventionally, for example, Astana was not the art space, right? Especially contemporary art space. It's the new capital, but it's very sort of official, right? So it used to be the place for official art more. And Almaty in that sense was the thriving center for contemporary art. But Almaty is also not giving up that stage. Tashkent is really opening up right now in terms of accepting that understanding of public art and artists as those who are active, if not, they are critiqued sometimes, but they're also active members of the public sphere. You really have to follow the artists themselves, where they go, where they, even if they're not exhibiting, where do they talk, where are they appearing, right? Where are the either public or underground discussions, right? And all of that is becoming more public now due to digitalization in Central Asia. You can go on Instagram, and if you follow the right people, you can actually trace digitally where they're gathering, what are they talking about, right? Kastev Museum in Almaty is a sort of traditional structure in that sense, and then also the new museum in Astana that just opened 4 years ago. And there, of course, there is within the National Museum of Kazakhstan, it's for the first time that they have the Center for Contemporary Art in the country. And so, of course, there is these developments, even if we say that they're quite new, and I think relatively they new, because throughout the 1990s the state was not interested in supporting those artists. The artists were on their own, right? So they had to somehow create their own markets, they had to survive on their own. Then in the mid-2000s, then this became this idea of sort of institutionalizing art abroad, right? So the Venetian Biennale, art exhibits mainly abroad. So in order to become somebody, you had to sort of travel outside your country. When I say that contemporary art in the region is a movement that is united only by certain ideas, a lot of these people have very divergent opinions and thoughts of how to develop further, right? And a lot of them, there will be huge criticism of not going with the state at all, not accepting state money, and then of state funding and also state vision that they believe that comes with that. And other people would be more inclined, at least for some sort of dialogue, right? You know, in order to create something for good on both sides. So there is this very heterogeneous space of opinions, really, the sea of opinions. And I think it's too early to say how this outcome will play out. A lot of thoughts are coming from, you know, people who travel abroad, and they see how big this movement is in the West, in Europe. There are, for example, there is more literature coming out on that, right? There is the public discussion. People are publishing on, for example, Chinese contemporary art. I just read an article today on that and on one of the blogs, and so on. So there is this discussion, there is exposure, and there are more privately oriented galleries opening up. There are more events, and again, there is this opportunity for the exposure. I won't mention certain names, but I know that there is a network and there is this development of, if not patrons, then at least people who are investing private money into that development. Every artist, in my opinion, has a certain discourse, and they create that discourse, and it can change over time, but it's there, they own it. And there are artists like Vashakas who completely owns his discourse. It's all about public art in all of the 100% of essences of being public, right? And it creates a lot of critical ideas of engagement with the public. So it's not the art that you can, for example, take and sell. Contemporary art becomes a social, it's completely social phenomena, because it is in connection. At least even if they're reflecting on certain issues, they reflect on the social problems. Even if, of course, art is an elite field, right? Not many people can have access, not many people would be inclined to do so. But nevertheless, art in Central Asia tries to break those boundaries. They try to, engage as much. And this is for a lot of artists I know, that it's really what they aim to do, through public festivals, through, even if you're in certain gallery or in certain museum, or even if you just talk to people on the street or you meet somebody through networks, it's this idea of sending the message and being heard, and I reflect on that.